Welcome back to the week, ladies and gentlemen. As we continue our series in Black History Month and talking with people from our community, I wanted to bring on someone from the LaGange Art Museum. I have on the Executive Director, Laura Jennings. Laura, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Alton. Thanks for having me.
Well, it is a pleasure to sit down with you and talk about things that are going on in and around our community. A week ago, I talked with Wes Cochran down at the Cochran Collection. I had an awesome interview with Wes there and Missy, and talked about a lot of the paintings and the various things that they have going on there. And hopefully the community will come out and take advantage of what he has on display there. And I know that you've been there, and thank you for allowing me to reschedule you, if you don't mind, in order to make his show such a full show, because it was an awesome interview. But Laura, also, you are the executive director there at the LaGange Art Museum. First of all, tell us just a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind.
Gosh, I was an Air Force brat, born in France. Lived mostly in the Southeast while I was growing up, and went to the University of Georgia, got a journalism degree. I've been in marketing probably most of my life, tourism, fundraising mainly.
Okay.
And have always loved art. It's been a passion. I'm not an artist, but I think I bring a business approach to a nonprofit that is valuable.
Absolutely. You know, having ran a nonprofit myself for a period of 6 years, to be able to have a marketing and be able to do fundraising is so vitally important for the survival of a nonprofit organization. And it takes a unique person to be able to do that, someone that can connect with the donators and also with the community. And I know that you guys are doing a great job there. Let me just, as I'm transitioning, talking about that, talk a little bit about some of the challenges that the Art Museum have faced during this pandemic, and maybe not being able to get those funds coming in the door as you would like.
Well, you know, the Art Museum is all about relationships, as many organizations are. And so when you can't interact directly with your customers, if you will, that's frustrating. So, you know, we have a very lively summer program. We help the school system with their summer school, and none of that happened. And so same as with our donors, you know, we're not having events to interact with them and get to know them better. And so that's been a real challenge, is the relationships more than anything. And we're trying to be creative about that. What we've learned through the pandemic too is a lot of the things that are living through right now are going to stick with us. I think that now more and more remote tours and that sort of thing. We just got funding for a 3D camera so that we can do tours of the museum and post them. So for whatever reason, people may not come to the museum but can see a certain exhibition. So yeah, we're having to redefine ourselves, because I think, well, 2021 is definitely going to be another year of the pandemic, and then in 2022 we'll be trying to recover and rebound. And we've learned a lot from the pandemic that will stay with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we just definitely want people to understand that you're open. I'm talking a little bit about that, if you don't mind, for us.
Well, we opened right after the shelter in place in March, and we've stayed open. I would love to tell you that we have hundreds of people coming through the museum every day, and we have to give people numbers. Right. That's not happening. So, and then we'll accommodate anybody. If someone calls and says, you know, I would love to see the exhibition but concerned about crowds or people, we'll open early, we'll stay late. So we're trying to be as accommodating as possible. We have openings, and of course we're no longer serving food, and there you have to reserve a spot to come to the opening, so that we can limit the number of people in the building. So yeah, it's been a interesting twist.
Okay, well, very good. And with all those things being said, Laura, and as we look and celebrate Black History Month, and it was interesting, you know, you and I were conversating prior to coming on the show, and I know that February is designated as Black History Month, but you made a very interesting point. If you don't mind just stating that point once again.
Sure. Lauren Oliver, our deputy director, has always had this stance. I learned about it at a creative placemaking class that I went to in Chattanooga a couple years ago. Actually, Carrie Weiss with LSPA went with me. And their message was that Black artists, Black musicians, Black storytellers don't appreciate that they get attention and business only in February. Because they feel like, you know, we've got 11 more months out of every year, and what we're doing is worthy and should be shared. And so we're firm believers in that. And so we celebrate Black artists year round, collaborating with Wes and Missy, and it's just an important part of who we are.
Very good. And I couldn't say it better, you know, and when you really think about that, absolutely. It is all year around.
Exactly.
Talk about, and then talking about exhibits, you and I were having a very interesting conversation, so we're going to be we're going to kind of censor somewhat the exhibit that is there in the LaGrange Art Museum is one by Camille Billups. Talk a little bit about that exhibit, if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, it's actually a film. Wes and Missy donated 6 films, that were produced by Camille Billups and her husband. They're an interracial couple. And one that I had never seen, I've seen most of them, is about identifying racism and the negative impact it has on our society. The film is about an hour long. And I really encourage people to make the time to sit for an hour and watch the film. We do have headphones. There's some bad language. It's viewer's discretion, for sure, not for children. But somewhat, it's poignant and sad that this was filmed in the early 90s, and still today, 2021, we are, the exact same things are applying. And it's talking about racism from every vantage point, from every ethnic group. So I really encourage people to see that. It's really well done.
All right. And they can come, and I forgot to ask you, if you don't mind telling me hours. I know you said you would be open late. Tell them the hours.
Tuesday through Friday, 9 to 5. And then Saturdays, 1 to 4.
Okay, 1 to 4. And there's no admission charge?
No admission charge. Okay. Nope. We've never turned down a donation.
I'm about to say,
but it is free, and that's thanks to the city funding that we receive.
Okay.
And so, yeah. It's free. It's a great outing.
Absolutely. Okay. So, movie there by Camille Billups. Definitely can come out to your location and view that. And you said there was a series of 6 movies, right? Can you mention some of the other ones that you have in the collection?
Yes. Gosh, they're all so good. One is Camille is talking about how when the Africans were being enslaved and taken onto the boats, to make the journey, the ship's captains or ship helpers would say, "We'll hold your bags. We'll hold your bags." And in fact, the things that they took were often important art pieces from their lives, and then they never received them back. And so that art was infiltrated into the community, if you will, the nation, without proper attribution. And so she made that film. She has a little boy sitting next to her. He yawns during some of it. It's just, it's amazing. She has one about middle-aged women and sex, and it's a funny one.
Okay.
So, they don't all have these serious messages, but it's a great series, and we're so lucky Wes and Missy gave it to us. There's not very many copies of it.
Okay, very interesting. Sounds as if.
And Wes is in the
I was going to say, you mentioned it.
Yeah, Wes is in that film that we have on display right now as a much younger man.
Okay, well, definitely we hope the public will come out because they sound interesting, and to understand from which we came, help us to understand where we are today. And I think it's probably true that not only African Americans but all Americans should view to kind of help us
very much so
to shape where we need to be as we continue to move forward. A couple other exhibits that you have there on display. I think you were saying Looking Male. Talk a little bit about
That's
that.
the exhibit that we have opening on Friday night, February 5th, and it runs through April 3rd.
Okay.
And it's called Looking Male. We commit our schedule a year and a half, 2 years out. So one of our board members is an art professor at Columbus State, and he and another art professor, a photography expert, Rylan Steele, got together and are curating the show for us, which means they get to pick what's in the show. They are picking from a fund, the Do Good Fund, which is a nonprofit in Columbus, and their sole purpose is collecting fabulous photography and then loaning it out very reasonably to museums that are on smaller budgets.
Oh, okay.
And so they picked one called Looking Male, And it's a lot of southern landscapes on the second floor. And then down below on the main gallery are just images of southern males, but I'm anxious to hear some of their thinking. Like there's one of looks like a little girl looking for Easter egg under a bush, and I'm not quite sure how that relates to it. So they'll be there on Friday, and I'll understand more of their thinking.
Okay.
But it is predominantly males.
Okay.
And thought-provoking for sure. And that's what art's about.
Absolutely. You know, I tell, and as I told Wes, I said, I can't draw a stick man well. My son is an artist, and for an artist to conceive something in their head and put it on paper is just absolutely amazing to me. Laura, as we get ready to close out, you were talking about, you know, you guys being able to survive during this time. If there's someone that was watching that would like to make a donation to the LaGrange Art Museum, how can they do that?
Gosh, it's such a great thing. Thank you, Alton.
No problem.
They just can go on our website, LaGrangeArtMuseum.org, and there is a donate button, and that's all it takes. They can, of course, send in a check, 112 Lafayette Parkway, 30240. So either way, but it is easy to do it just right there on our website. So thank you for bringing that up.
No problem, no problem. Well, Laura, I want to thank you for coming in and being my guest. And again, thank you for allowing me to reschedule you for this week. So I definitely appreciate you and all that you do there to help continue the arts here in our community. I think we're so very, very fortunate to have the LaGrange Art Museum, the Cochran Collection, the Troup County Archives, all of the various venues that give back to our community in such a giving way. So thank you so much,
Thank
Laura.
you, Alton. Thanks for always promoting the arts.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for more Theater Week coming up in just a moment.